Historic winter storm turns deadly is the title of today's video no one is going to watch, and according to YouTube experts, saying the title of the video at the start of the video is one of the single most important things you should do as a creator to improve the performance of your video. And they also suggest that you should follow up saying the title of the video with a hook to entice viewers to continue watching. So here for your enticement is a snippet of videos that feature in this evening's unwatchable content. Stay tuned to the very end if you want to know more.
From New Mexico to Maine, a massive winter storm impacting more than half of our country, leaving snow, ice, and bitter temperatures in its path.
A massive winter storm turning deadly, bringing harsh sleet, freezing rain, thunder ice, sub-zero temperatures, blankets of snow across the country. In Tennessee, one man posting a video showing his car completely covered in ice there. The storm putting more than 200 million Americans under a winter weather warning. Nearly 20 states under a state of emergency tonight. And tonight, nearly 900,000 people are without power. A majority in southern states, with Tennessee and Mississippi hit the hardest right now. Some are being warned it could take days to restore power. Travelers also stranded at airports. Today alone, we're seeing more than 11,000 flights canceled, another 16,000 delayed, according to FlightAware. And you can see a snowplow there working to clear the airport runway in Ohio. Freezing temperatures hitting minus 34 degrees in parts of New York.
Cars lie buried nose deep in snow. Streets fade into white silence. Snow spins through the air like ash. This is the United States this week. A powerful winter storm has swept across the country, bringing snow, sleet, rain, and ice, all falling together. Temperatures have plunged well below freezing levels. More than 190 million people under extreme cold alerts.
So what is up, folks? Welcome back to this latest installment of unwatchable content. Winter storm turns deadly, and some of you that are watching may be in parts of the United States that is currently under one of the many winter advisory warnings, and you may even be in one of the cities that is currently under a state of emergency as a result of this latest historic record-breaking ice and snow storm that has left millions under advisory warnings, hundreds and thousands without powers, tens of thousands stranded, and dozens dead. Not to mention almost 50 children who are suffering with carbon monoxide poisoning as a way of trying to keep warm through this ice storm that has caused absolute havoc to the United States that was already a little bit up havoc alley as a result of a widespread nationwide series of protests as citizens are angered enough with the exploits of ICE, who have been assassinating citizens left, right and centre since the start of the year. And it seems only ironic and almost conveniently coincidental that we should have a historic ice storm raging in the United States as The ICE Enforcement, Immigration, Customs and Enforcement Agency are running amok in multiple cities around the United States of America. And it was in my last upload, ICE camera insurrection, that quite a few of the Nawadians that were watching along in that live premiere were mentioning how bad the weather was where they were watching from, and how bad it has been and how bad it was going to get. And since the weekend, there are literally hundreds and thousands of people in extremely dire situations, as well as multiple deaths, as we are seeing yet another event surging throughout the United States as high impact events do continue to cascade throughout the nation. We've got ICE raids in multiple cities killing citizens and immigrants. We've got a super flu surging that is also kicking up quite an impressive death toll, as well as norovirus, measles, fatal funguses, and now we have the weather that is also contributing to the death count as the population continues to deplete within the first month of 2026. So as always, guys, we've got some videos and articles to get through before we are done this evening. So without any further ado, let's head over right now to the first articles of the day, and I'll see you on the flip side. So first up, let's start out at foxweather.com for an article that came out just about 3 hours ago and actually has been updated within the last 30 minutes. Live updates, millions digging out, thousands without power as the next winter storm threat looms, the headline reads. Utility crews are working around the clock to restore power after this weekend's crippling winter storm, while millions along the East Coast brace for another potential storm. Here is the latest: 36 dead across a dozen states, 475,000 plus power outages, airports getting back on schedule, although there has been a lot of delays in flights cancelled. A new winter storm threat is looming, and Ole Miss cancels classes all week. Another snowstorm takes aim on the East Coast. There is a map and the direction of where that storm is heading, and some of the cities that will possibly be affected with it. But while millions dig out from the weekend's heavy snow and thousands are still without power from the crippling ice, the new storm threat is already brewing, and the Fox Forecast Center says another winter storm is likely to form off America's east coast and could dump snow on areas still working to recover from the last one. And some of those places might also still be without power when this latest storm comes through. But some computer forecast models paint a startling picture: a big snowstorm smacking the Carolinas to New England with heavy snow and strong winds. But forecasters caution that the bombastic model images can be misleading, too far in advance of a system ever developing right now. They say that there is a threat for heavy snow from the southeast coast on Saturday up to the mid-Atlantic and New England on Sunday. Treacherous travel conditions continue in Mississippi. 1 hour ago, 4 deaths are reported in Mississippi from the historic winter storm. Here is a tweet from Governor Tate, somebody or other. He's got a blue tick, and X, of course, was the website formerly known as Twitter. And I don't know what it is. Whenever Okay guys, back on track. Had a little bit of an issue there, but another update on the severe winter weather. Tragically, a death has been reported in Leflore County. This brings the total of 4 statewide. Please keep the family in your prayers. Counties continue to conduct damage assessments. MESMA has received reports of 92 homes, 3, and you can see more if you click on it there. We're not going to click on the rest of that tweet, but Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves announced that the state's total death toll has risen to 4 after a death was reported, as we just read in the tweet. The announcement comes as hard-hit areas in Mississippi combat crippling ice that is more than 130,000 across the state without power. That can be very unpleasant. I know what it's like to live in frigid temperatures without any power from my time in Canada. But with extremely low temperatures in the forecast, the dangerous winter weather impacts for areas that saw the worst storm had to offer and are expected to stick around into the end of the week and into the upcoming weekend. High temperatures for hard-hit areas across eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and into Mississippi and Tennessee will remain at below freezing. Locations around Oxford and Nashville will only experience highs in the low 20s and overnight lows in the teens. This means anything that does melt could refreeze and prolong dangerous conditions across bruised areas in the south. Another update from an hour ago. Ice buildup in the Hudson River forces the United States Coast Guard icebreaker into action. So much ice activity going on in the United States right now, be it literal ice or the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, also known as ICE. But the tweet we are looking at here, Coast Guard ice-breaking operations help waterways keep waterways safe, navigable and open while supporting emergency response, delivery of critical supplies to commuters in winter conditions. I don't know why you can't read on the side of that tweet, and again we're freezing. This is getting a little bit frustrating, but the major winter storm brought half-winter weather impacts to the doorstep of millions of Americans, which have been exasperated by an Arctic chill delivering frigid temperatures across much of the country as millions of Americans continue cleanup efforts. In the wake of the major snowstorm that smashed the Northeast, one area feeling the prolonged winter weather impact of the Arctic freeze is New York City. Although New York City public schools are reopened, commuters traveling to and from the Big Apple via boat have been in for a rugged ride. Significant ice has overtaken parts of the Hudson River, triggering the assistance of the U.S. Coast Guard. On Tuesday, the USCG cutter Horser successfully broke ice and freed the NYPD Harbor David after the vessel became abreast near Pier 86 on the Hudson River. The significant ice buildup has forced the New York City ferry to suspend services across all routes in a temporary closure that could last several days. Operating in heavy ice condition requires slow speeds and little to no notice regarding landing service suspensions, the NYC ferry said in a statement. NYC ferry crew will continue to monitor evolving waterway conditions and prepare the fleet to ensure service can resume once conditions improve. Baltimore County Public Schools are closed on Wednesday. There is a tweet there. Weather alert. All BCPS schools and offices will be closed on Wednesday, January 28th, due to the ongoing impact of winter storms and hazardous road conditions. Dallas Independent School District closes on Wednesday. There is another tweet, Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Dallas ICD will remain closed tomorrow, Wednesday, January the 28th, 26. All athletic events and practices, indoor and outdoor, are postponed. Over 100,000 students in the Dallas Independent School Districts will have another day off from school Wednesday as winter weather persists in the Lone Star State. 4 hours ago, widespread power outages continue as extreme ice plagues recovery in Mississippi. And oops, looks like we're having trouble loading this video. A powerful storm smothers Philadelphia in over 9 inches of snow. Oops, looks like we're having trouble loading this video. You can check out other videos while we get it. Crews clear off massive piles of snow at LaGuardia Airport. There's something more about the New York ferry suspending services 6 hours ago. Monster storm and extreme cold is blamed for 36 deaths across more than a dozen states. Local officials across 14 states have now confirmed at least 35 deaths due to the monster winter storm and extreme cold. Cold weather deaths were reported in northern Louisiana, Emporia, Kansas, and Austin, Texas. In Frisco, Texas, a 16-year-old girl died and another teen remains in critical condition after a sledding accident. Local police say the 2 sledders were being pulled by an SUV and struck a tree. At the time of the accident, about an inch of sleet was on the ground, according to the Fox Forecast Center. We will be reading a little bit more about that shortly. But in Lee County, Pennsylvania, the coroner's office said that 3 people died in separate medical incidents while they were cleaning up snow on Sunday. The Louisiana Department of Health confirmed that a 3rd winter storm-related death after announcing 2 people died of hypothermia on Sunday, and the LDH announced an 86-year-old man in DeSoto Parish died due to carbon monoxide poisoning. I guess he was trying to light a barbecue or a fire in his house to keep warm, possibly out of power and freezing. That's a terrible way to go. But raising the death toll to 3 in Louisiana, Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority police told Fox Weather that a non-MBTA snowplow struck a married couple that was walking in an MBTA parking lot on Sunday, and the wife died of her injuries. In Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear announced on social media that a 72-year-old woman in Whitley County had died from hypothermia in the state's first confirmed winter storm-related death. This comes as the Arkansas Department of Public Safety announced another death involving an ATV as a 40-year-old male near Hope died, raising the state's winter storm-related death toll to 2. A 67-year-old man was pronounced dead in Verona, New Jersey, after local police found him unresponsive on a sidewalk with a shovel in hand. The South Carolina Department of Health confirmed a 96-year-old female died of hypothermia in Greenwood County. 6 hours ago, a developing story from New York, and New York is investigating 10 deaths as a cold winter related as the city endures extreme cold. New York City is investigating the deaths of 10 individuals found outside during dangerously cold temperatures over the past few days. Mayor Zoran Mamdani says that the deaths were being investigated as cold weather related, but the city hasn't released the official cause of death. We don't know yet if every one of those deaths will be ruled hypothermia, was a quote from the mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani. And the Fox Forecast Center says that the temperatures in the 5 boroughs have consistently stayed in the 10s and 20s since Friday, with wind chills dropping below 0 at times. 7 hours ago, an analysis why the next storm could be a bomb. over the Atlantic. Fox weather meteorologists say that America's next big weather maker, interesting choice of words there, weather maker, is that a little hint or a Freudian slip to let us know that they are making the weather that is about to bomb on the eastern coast of the United States, but could be just days away. Another major winter storm somewhere along the east coast. This storm will be different from last weekend's in that coastal low will develop off the US east coast, producing snow and strong winds near the coastline. A pronounced dip in the jet stream is expected to remain positioned farther south across the east coast into late week. This will serve multiple roles, including reinforcing cold air across the region, suppressing the storm track farther to the south as a strong upper level disturbance becomes embedded within the jet stream. Late week, it could lead to the development of an area of low pressure off the east coast as the through shifts eastward. Computer forecast models continue to suggest a growing signal for a potential coastal storm, although uncertainty remains regarding exactly where the system may develop and the track it would ultimately take. If a storm does form, it would likely take on a nor'easter characteristics, simply defined by strong northeasterly winds along the east coast. There is a map of that forecasted storm that is due to hit the states on the eastern coast within by the end of the week, within the next few days. Now forecasters say there is a strong likelihood that whatever does develop will bomb out or rapidly intensify. This in reference to bombogenesis, which is defined by at least a 24 millibar pressure drop in 24 hours. You will often see this referred to as a bomb cyclone in various references and headlines. Forecast models indicate this storm could go from 1,008 millibars to 907 in just a single day. That pressure drop could mean nasty winds and erosion at the coast. 7 hours ago, 24 dead after snow, ice and extreme cold hit dozens of states. At least 24 people have died as a result of the historic winter storm that has impacted millions of Americans across dozens of states. This past weekend, with snow, ice and extreme cold, deaths were reported across 7 states. Travel trouble lingers as airlines work to recover. I think those are locations of grounded flights or airports that have suffered the worst. Yes, it does. It shows the misery map showing travel headaches at US airports on Tuesday. America's monster weather winter storm is gone, but the travel headaches continue. Data from FlightAware shows more than 1,700 US flights have been cancelled as far as today, while another 2,400 have been delayed. We are very sorry for the disruption this weather event has caused and thank our team members, many of whom are working overtime and are continuingly to safely brave the weather as they focus on taking care of many customers as possible, is a quote from American Airlines Chief Customer Officer Heather Gard-Bowden. American Airlines says 5 of its 9 hubs were significantly impacted by the storm as of 11:45 a.m. More than a third of Americans' scheduled flights were either delayed or cancelled as the airline works. 8 hours ago, we are nearly at the bottom of this one. Tennessee battles widespread power outages after a severe weekend ice storm. 8 hours ago again, ice prevents New York ferries. We know all about that. Mississippi governor thanks everyone for responding to the state's ice disaster. Nashville Electric working around the clock to restore power in Tennessee. Reed Timmer joins Fox Weather from paralyzed Oxford, Mississippi in the aftermath. Oops. And this is America's biggest ice storms on record. Oxford paralysed by danger, a storm. Single-digit wind chills dive into the deep south. 175 million Americans under cold weather alerts this morning. This is from 11 hours ago. From the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes, millions of Americans are facing dangerously cold temperatures this morning. Right now, more than 175 million people are under some type of cold weather alert issued by the National Weather Service. Extreme cold warnings extend all the way down to the Gulf Coast, while cold weather advisories cover much of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Experts say it is a real life-threatening cold. Hypothermia and frostbite can occur within 20 to 30 minutes of being exposed to this extreme cold air. Everyone in the alert area should take precautions to cover up before venturing outdoors and limit time outside until conditions improve. And will it ever end? Washington Metro service resumes, but services on buses are limited on some routes. New Jersey Transit announces severe weather schedule as service ramps up, and New Jersey Transit says its rail service is running on a severe weather level 2 schedule today as New Jersey's state-owned public transportation provider ramps up services. Carolinas on alert as a WPC warns of significant coastal storm. Winter blast extends school cancellations throughout Tuesday. Dozens of school districts and colleges have announced they're cancelling classes for another day as communities recover from this week's monster winter storm. Numerous schools in Massachusetts, including Boston Public Schools, Worcester and Brockton, have told students to stay home again and told 1.5 feet of snow fell in and around Boston. University of North Georgia moves to virtual classes for Tuesday and expects to resume normal in-person classes on Wednesday. Vanderbilt University says it will open today with an emphasis on remote work. All in-person classes have been cancelled. In Mississippi, Ole Miss announced on Monday that classes were cancelled the remainder of the week and its Oxford campus would remain closed until Sunday. The city bred the brunt of the storm with an inch of ice accumulating on the trees, power lines, cutting power across the campus. And there we did finally get to the end of that almost never-ending article from Fox Weather, but give us a little tidbit of news alerts from around the nation regarding deaths, power outages, and severe weather conditions. So we're going to leave Fox now and head over to CNN. So this says it's only a 6-minute read, but this actually came out 5 hours ago from CNN.com. Death toll from winter storm and cold raises to over 30 as parts of the south could be without power for weeks, not days. Heaven forbid anyone that is going to be without power for weeks in frigid temperatures. But this weekend's winter storm and ensuing bitter cold have left at least 30 people dead and caused prolonged power outage for hundreds of thousands, particularly across the southern United States. The damage from ice and cold was most significant in a swath stretching from East Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Nashville, Tennessee. Power officials in Nashville said to expect lengthy outages from the historic storm, and Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves deployed up to 500 members of the state's National Guard to assist. National Guard assisting with ice is a rather common trend of stories this week, as the National Guard are up in Minnesota and Minneapolis assisting ice, although I have heard that they're actually giving donuts to protesters, but we'll probably hear about that in the next video no one is going to watch on this channel, which is home of unwatchable content. But back to the article, it is somewhat late whack-a-mole. Every time one of the utility companies and power companies gets a large group back on line, we have another tree fall or another limb fall, Reeve said on Monday, and we will get through this, but we're not going to get through it today, and we're not going to get through it tomorrow. This is going to take time. Meanwhile, around 175 million people are under cold alerts for frigid temperatures that will linger for days. The brutal cold is setting new record daily lows in the plains. More record lows are expected in the south and east through at least this week. Meteorologists are also eyeing the potential for another significant winter storm, which we heard about in the previous article from Fox. But this significant winter storm is likely to hit the East Coast this weekend, although its strength and path remain unclear. At least 24 storm and cold-related deaths were reported across several states, including Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. Some have been attributed to hypothermia, while others were associated with snow shoveling. Officials say that several other deaths are also under investigation. There are some photos of the monster winter storm, and look at that, 33 engine outside a fire station, some firemen cleaning the snow. But among the deaths in Louisiana, a 46-year-old man involved in a vehicle crash on icy roads, a 62-year-old man and a 59-year-old woman of suspected hypothermia in their homes, and a 79-year-old woman whose medical device failed during a power outage. In Texas, 3 Budge brothers ages 6, 8 and 9 fell through the ice on a private pond and died in Texas, just north of Dallas. Authorities said in addition, 2 16-year-old girls riding a sled pulled by a jeep hit a tree, killing one and leaving the other in critical condition, according to officials. I'm not sure if that can really, although, without the weather and the snow, they wouldn't have been sledging, but I don't really think you can blame that on the weather itself. That seems a little bit more like stupidity to me, but sad nonetheless. The most significant infrastructure damage was to the south, where ice made roads slick, snapped tree limbs, and weighed down power lines. I can recall an ice storm several years ago, actually over a decade ago now, when I was in Toronto, that also caused power outages for several days throughout the greater Toronto area, although I was fortunate enough not to have been affected by that. But it was quite creepy hearing the ice creaking and tinkling on the surfaces that it was falling on, and hearing the trees creaking and cracking and eventually falling in the distance. It's a little bit like something out of a horror film that I've never seen before. But it is like driving on a 30-mile ice cube, said Tom Lindsay, back to the article, a coordinator with Tippah County Emergency Management in Mississippi. As of Tuesday morning, hundreds and thousands of electric customers have regained power, according to tracking website Power Outages US. A drastic improvement from the million customers who suffered from outages at one point, but more than 500,000 customers remained in the dark as of Tuesday afternoon, including around 170,000 in Tennessee and around 140,000 in Mississippi and just under 100,000 in Louisiana. Tracking US power outages as the temperature remains low. Dozens of counties from Texas to Virginia are experiencing significant power outages, while temperatures are expected to remain at record-setting lows. There is a map there that's moving on its own. But the breadth of the storm means much of the country is dealing in some way with its aftermath. Snow was on the ground for just over 56 of the lower 48 states on Monday, and at least a foot of snow fell in 18 states, stretching from New Mexico up and over to Maine. Prolonged outages are expected in the south. The Weather Prediction Center had warned before the storm of catastrophic ice accumulation, and that forecast held up for parts of the south. Repairs and restoration to electrical infrastructure in northern Mississippi will be prolonged due to widespread damage and unsafe conditions. Northeast Mississippi Electric Power Association CEO Keith Hayward said in a social media post, "One reason this has taken a little while is the logistics are slow. The roads are still extremely dangerous," Hayward said Monday night, noting key highways had indeed been closed. Hayward also said that this storm was worse than Mississippi's historic 1994 ice storm, where outages took 23 days to restore. While modern upgrades may speed up repairs compared with 1994, Hayward warned that restoration will not be quick. Lindsay, the Tippah County coordinator, said that they had a complete grid failure and county-wide water issues. He warned of weeks, not days, before residents are back in their homes with power. People that didn't prepare 5 days out are now extremely suffering, especially those with electric heat, he said. In Tennessee, this storm marked the highest number of outages at one time in Nashville electricity services history, with a peak of 230,000. The utility said in a Monday morning update on X that surpasses the 200,000 outages reaching during the damaging May 2020 derecho, which was one of the utility's biggest outages on record for the city. Nashville residents should be prepared to potentially go without power for up to a week, said Brent Baker, an executive vice president and chief operations and innovations officer at the Nashville Electric Service. This is going to be a historic event, Baker told CNN's Isabel Rosales on Monday. Maybe a 20 or 30 year memory for most of us. We'll look back at this. This is going to be something that will go down in history and be significant for our customers. The electricity service had deployed about 400 line workers to respond to 153 broken poles as of mid-afternoon Monday. This will be a week-long event at a minimum that we're going to be working on this, but we think if we make it through today's cold weather and the trees continue to fall, we'll start to make more progress as the days continue. Baker said. Louisiana Governor Jeff Lardy said on Monday that unaffected utilities in the southern part of the state were moving to central and north Louisiana to help recovery efforts, and he encouraged people without power to go to the warming center set up by the state. I wonder if that is the Metrodome or the Sky Dome or whatever the stadium was that they used during Hurricane Katrina, and it turned into a fuckfest of disasters. But if you're in North Louisiana and you do not have power and you also do not have heat, you need to find somewhere to go, he said. Don't just, the power may just come on at any midnight. At midnight, it's dangerously cold, and the next couple of nights, find somewhere to go. Flights have been cancelled and roads are dangerous. Chris Dobry walked out of his home on Sunday and came face to face with downed trees and thick ice covering power lines in his neighborhood of Greenwood, Mississippi. The ice storm in Mississippi is wreaking havoc, Dobry wrote in a Facebook post. No power lines down and trees are literally breaking apart. He told CNN that it may take days to get electricity back. In the meantime, he has been using his gas fireplace for heat. Trees and power lines that are still standing could still snap in the coming days under the continued strain of the ice itself. Half an inch of ice, which is 12 states recorded during this storm, can add as much as 500 pounds of weight to power lines. High winds can also push trees and power lines to their breaking point. Travel by road was treacherous, while air travel nearly ground to a halt on Sunday as airlines cancelled more than 11,600 flights on Sunday. Drop the zeros, turn the 6 upside down. What have you got, folks? According to FlightAware, the biggest cancellation a day since COVID-19 shut down travel in March 2020. More than 6,000 US flights were cancelled Monday too, affecting major airports stretching from Dallas to Boston. Flight cancellations again rose sharply on Tuesday as some crews and equipments are still out of place. As of midday Tuesday, over 1,600 flights had been cancelled nationwide. According to FlightAware, American Airlines continues to account for the majority of cancellations, ranking as the airline with the most cancelled flights for the 4th straight day. I wonder if they put options on their stock before the storm began. The airline began Tuesday with about a quarter of its schedule already cancelled. American executives have apologized to customers in an email Monday as the carrier struggled to recover from its schedule meltdown, with disruptions especially severe at its Dallas-Fort Worth hub. Several major school districts closed or turned to virtual learning on Monday due to the storm, and some remained closed on Tuesday due to inclement weather or road conditions. Students in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville will not have class Tuesday. In Maryland, Montgomery County schools remain closed Tuesday, while schools in Prince George County are scheduled to stay closed through until Thursday. And that is the end of that article from CNN. So let's go and watch a few videos and break up between articles, and we will be coming back with some more, especially about those 2 tween girls and their tobogganing tragedy.
The country is preparing for a potentially historic winter storm. 172 million people are under some form of winter weather warning through Sunday, with relentless snow, ice, and in some places wind chills below zero. And cities across the country are getting supplies ready. That includes St. Louis, Missouri, where streets are being pre-treated with over 13,000 gallons of brine. On top of that, the city is also meeting with emergency contractors to see what plows and personnel are available. What they're trying to do is prevent what happened last January, when streets in the city were covered in ice for weeks after the snow quickly froze, leaving many people trapped inside.
It seemed like it was forever. There was ice everywhere, and that's my concern about this storm, because it's going to be so cold, so it's going to ice immediately.
This storm is really expected to start tonight with sleet and freezing rain in Texas around 8 o'clock, and the heaviest conditions there 1 a.m. tomorrow to 5 a.m. on Sunday. And while we're enjoying a warm up here in Central Florida, snow and ice is expected just to our north in the Carolinas, and that could snap trees and even take down power lines fast.
West 2 Sunrise anchor Jason Guy shows us how local crews are answering the call to help.
OUC crews rolled out before sunrise on Friday morning. They're heading north to help get the lights back on for strangers, the same way out-of-state crews help us here in Central Florida after hurricanes.
We all help each other, help get the system back up.
WESH 2 News was there as OUC sent a 17-member power restoration team of 16 line technicians and a fleet mechanic about 500 miles away from Orlando to the Charleston metro area. They'll support South Carolina's largest power and water utility, Sandy Cooper.
They don't have the manpower alone to fix when something catastrophic like this happens. So it's nice that we all have like a band of brothers here that come together to help restore it a lot quicker.
But this trip is a different kind of challenge for a Florida crew, with ice, snow, and bitterly cold temperatures.
We have bibs. We have a lot of thicker layer jackets that we get that we don't normally use for Florida here, you know. Definitely some waterproof boots with some thermal socks.
Once they get there, they'll first learn the local system specs, then they'll be going straight to the hardest hit areas. And it's more than just making sure people are comfortable in their homes.
You also have your hospitals, you have your grocery stores, you have a lot of places that need that power to help serve the community.
OUC tells us the crew will stay as long as needed, whether that's a few days or several weeks, depending on the damage. Jason Guy, WESH 2 News.
In addition to that OUC crew, Duke Energy Florida says they've deployed about 500 workers and contractors to South Carolina.
Freezing temperatures can be deadly if you're not careful. More than 1,000 people died nationwide from excessive cold or even hypothermia in 2023. Many of those deaths came in January. So if you are traveling north this weekend, dress for the cold weather. You will need to cover your nose as well as your ears, toes, cheeks, chin, and fingers. And listen to what a doctor says can happen if you don't bundle up properly.
As the coldness progresses and the frostbite increases, you could have things like numbness. Your extremities could get very pale and then can get hardened as well as you continue to progress through that.
Hypothermia happens when your body temperature drops below 95 degrees. That is life-threatening, and you might not even notice it right away. So if you see someone experiencing symptoms like fumbling hands, slurred speech, or memory loss, call 911.
Let's talk about your forecast now locally. Obviously, we are going to deal with a great warm weekend, Tony, but we all know somebody who's going to be going through this storm system.
Yeah, my phone's been blowing up. It's been crazy. I want just to put this into perspective. Take a look at the national feels like / wind chill map. We're at 80, okay? Look at Minneapolis, 29.
Below.
That's a 110 degree swing.
That's wild.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And all that cold air is now in place. That storm system is coming in to the southwest. This winter storm is now beginning in Texas, and I'm going to take you there in a second. And that's going to expand northward into Oklahoma, where I think they're going to get crushed with snow. Right now outside, no snow. It's beautiful. We're around 80 here. Back towards the coast, we're running in the low 70s. Let me take you to the Dallas Motor Speedway, where the temperature's been dropping all day as that cold air mass is moving on in. These have, earlier today we were right around 60 degrees. This is going to continue to drop. I think Dallas is going to have some freezing rain as we get you into the evening hours. Just north of there, we've got freezing rain along the Red River. So snow is going to start breaking out in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City a little bit later on. This front's kind of going to sag south. It's going to give us a few more clouds than originally thought for tomorrow. So many of us will be in the 70s, not 80, but it's still pretty warm, especially compared to where folks are now up to the north. Let me show you a futurecast for tonight. No issues whatsoever. Nice, beautiful, quiet Friday night. Temperatures are going to be mild here in central Florida. Overnight lows falling to about 65 at 11. Out the door tomorrow morning right around 60. Normal low should be 50. We're about 10 degrees above it in many areas. Now let me take you through the weekend with Futurecast here. A lot of clouds around during the day tomorrow. Could even be a couple showers late in the day off towards our west, but notice the flow and picking up, getting gusty here as we get you on the Sunday afternoon. That's why it's going to be very, very warm. And then here comes the beginnings of the rain with that front in a much weakened fashion for us here. But what it will do is turn the winds around, and then we start falling throughout the day there on Monday. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of rain, maybe a quarter to a half an inch up north, and barely enough to dampen the ground here in many areas south and east of I-4. Temperatures on your Saturday, 77 Umatilla, 77 there back towards Bushnell. Look at Bithlow, 78, Melbourne, 76, Palm Coast coming in at about 70. So there's our winter storm. Overnight tonight, you can see it moving towards Louisiana, Texas. Again, the pink is the ice storm warning. To the north of it, we've got winter storm warnings here. Winter storm watches in far northern New England. Those will get converted to winter storm warnings as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, latest graph update. This particular model, it's great. It's high res, but it only goes out 2.5 days. And in the next 2.5 days, look at Oklahoma City, over a foot of snow. Along and north of the Ohio River, I think it's going to do very, very well. There's a little wedge of warm air coming up the western side of the Appalachian Mountains. That's going to cut down the snow totals for folks like in Charleston, West Virginia. They'll do well, but just north of the Ohio River, up towards New York City Central Park, they're going to get a lot of snow. I think they have over a foot of snow in New York City. And then just to the south of that, look at this ice from Charlotte back towards Dallas, Murfreesboro. So that's your ice belt. Here locally, look at Sunday's highs now, 80 to 86 degrees, a beach day in January. Still calling for record-tying highs in Orlando and Sanford. Great beach day too, by the way. And the Rolex 24. Looks good, around 80 for the end of that race there. And then we take a look at Monday. Here comes the front much colder air will build on in as we get into Monday night and Tuesday. I'm going to take a closer look at the freeze potential for Tuesday in the next half hour. So 84 on Sunday, 67 Monday. Look at that stretch of temperatures in the mid-30s along the coast for several days. This is not a short cold snap, folks. We'll take a closer look at that next.
Deadly and potentially historic winter storm slamming millions of us across the country. It is a triple threat of snow, of ice, and this life-threatening Arctic cold that's going to stick around for days. I want to show you here. You're seeing some of these pictures we're getting in. Let me see if we can get a live look here. This is Boston. It is really coming down out there. We show you the latest track with the system taking aim at the mid-Atlantic. That's New York on the left, by the way, too, live. And if you look at this track right now, it's the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast that's really in the thick of it. Conditions are going to get even worse for those folks in the hours ahead. Bill Cairns, our meteorologist, is at his post where he has been for the last 36 hours. He's starting us off. The storm is getting very dangerous. It has turned deadly in some spots. And as you and I have talked about for days now, it is the ice that is creating a particular problem, especially in the south.
Yeah, Oxford, Mississippi, I've seen pictures, Hallie, of 1 inch accumulation of ice, and there's just trees everywhere that have fallen on cars, on power lines. And we're almost up to 1 million people now without power, and predominantly those are in areas of East Texas, northern Louisiana, through northern Mississippi, from Jackson all the way northwards to Oxford, Tupelo area, and then Nashville was hit hard. There's about 150,000 people in Nashville alone without power, and it's all because ice. They didn't really get the snow and sleet that they were hoping for. It was mostly a freezing rain event, and it's still coming down. It hasn't stopped yet. Memphis, you're done. Dallas is done, by the way. Also there in most areas, like Little Rock is finished. St. Louis, the storm is finishing up. The storm is at its peak right now. It's pretty much from Pittsburgh to New York to Boston, heading up now into central New England. It's been a very mixed bag. It started off as snow, D.C. southwards down towards Richmond. Now you're kind of like a wintry mix. We think you're going to go over to some freezing rain later on this afternoon, so conditions are going to continue to get treacherous. Let me fast forward you to 10 p.m. We're pretty much done with the storm from about Philadelphia southwards by 10 p.m. Still snowing very hard through central New England, Buffalo, New York State Thruway to the Mass Pike, all the way northwards through northern New England. When everyone gets up tomorrow morning, the storm is pretty much over with. Very windy, kind of snow blowing around, some light snow in areas of New England. But really the peak of the storm, Hallie, is right now till about 10 p.m. this evening.
And as you talk about it, Bill, it's really in the Northeast. I want to quickly get a live look here at Boston. And, Bill, they're a place that is at least used to the snow here. But one of the remarkable things about this system is how huge it is, stretching across so many states, as you're taking a live look there at those snow-covered roofs in Boston.
Yeah, we're lucky this was on a Sunday. I mean, this would have shut things down even in big cities that are used to snow for 2 days. It looks like this is going to be like a Sunday, Monday kind of shutdown for the areas that remain all snow. And Boston, by the way, when you're said and done, could be anywhere between like 6 to 12 inches of snow. Areas further to the south are also going to be dealing with icy problems, too. Now, the Boston area, we think about 18 to 22 inches of snow for you. But even by Boston standards, that's a lot. Additional ice. So if we're going to get any power outages in addition to the nearly million we have right now, still focusing on upstate South Carolina, Charlotte to Raleigh to Richmond. It does not look to be as bad as we were forecasting yesterday. We got more sleet overnight, so that's good, but you still have to go through a period of freezing rain later today. Here's the additional snow that we think is going to fall. I-70 has gotten hit very hard. That's going to continue through central Pennsylvania for another couple hours. Another 4 to 6 in New York. You already have about 6 inches on the ground now. Philadelphia, just a little bit more, and then you're going to change over to sleet. D.C., it looks like mostly sleet to freezing rain, and then the heavy stuff, additional 10 to 14 Albany, Boston, an additional 16 to 20 inches of snow, Hallie. A lot more to go, especially in northern New England.
Yeah, no kidding. And even though, in some places they didn't get as much snow, the issue, Bill, is that this cold is going to stick around for days to come. It's just got nowhere to go, nowhere to melt.
100,000 customers without power in and around Tennessee and the Nashville area. So obviously it is just a mess. Let's head down south where folks, they're dealing with this dangerous, crippling ice, power outages, they're quickly rising, and winter storm warnings are in effect for millions. We've got Sarah Allegre there in Nashville right now, and Sarah's temperatures are expected to crash into the single digits tonight. Just like that tree limb came crashing down to the ground right there behind you, and that just goes to show what freezing rain and ice can do when it accumulates on these trees and these branches, right? A half of an inch of ice can add some 500 pounds to tree limbs and power lines.
Hi there, Nick. Absolutely. And as you said, that tree is just one example of what we're seeing here and why this storm has been so concerning and the focal point really here in Nashville area. You mentioned the power outages, and this tree is an example of what these lines are dealing with. A quarter of an inch of ice is so incredibly heavy. It's a weight of 2 grown men, essentially, if you think about that lined up on a transformer. That's going to do some significant damage, and this is what we're seeing here on this tree. And you could just take a little closer look at some of the branches too. As we look in the details here, you just see a significant portion of ice just encompassed around this tiny branch. And then, of course, looking at the trunk of the tree that is just split in half, leading to the damage that we've seen with the ice accretion. This morning, the consistency that we've been getting has just been rain, and this is what we've been dealing with. And especially as those temperatures drop, that's definitely a cause for concern. But as we continue to go through these elements and these conditions, what we've seen here in the downtown Nashville area is a team of people out and about here shoveling these walkways, adding salt and brine here so some folks can get through. Granted, it is relatively desolate today in the downtown Nashville area, and I'm very happy to report that. It seems that people are listening to the warnings that we've been giving out with, especially with the forecast pretty much on par with what we have been warning people. But we've seen folks with the Nashville Downtown Partnership here. They have been hard at work all morning to clear some of these walkways. Again, it's a big tourist area. We have some people walking through, braving the cold weather, but again, that is very minimal this morning. And same story for on the roadways too, for a lot of people. If what we're seeing on these trees, the ice accretion there, we're going to feel it on the roadways too. Right now, it's looking like some slush, so happy to report that. But again, as you mentioned, the bitter cold on the way, those temperatures continuing to drop as we're dealing with this freezing rain. Yeah, very dangerous combination. That's why, Tennessee Highway Patrol telling us stay off the roads if you can. Please stay home. And we're seeing action out of that. Looking at Nashville Metro Public Schools tomorrow and Tuesday, they won't have class. All of that's going to be canceled, and just hoping people just stay home for now as those bitter cold temps, it's going to creep in and just kind of add to the severity of what we're seeing with our eyes on the ground here in Nashville. Guys?
Yeah, Sarah, that slush is good news for now, but when that cold weather, the cold air comes in later on tonight, that could refreeze and become a big problem. So we appreciate you letting us know what's going on there in Nashville. Fox News multimedia reporter Sarah Allegre.
Our top story, a massive winter storm turning deadly, bringing harsh sleet, freezing rain, thunder ice, sub-zero temperatures, blankets of snow across the country. In Tennessee, one man posting a video showing his car completely covered in ice there. The storm putting more than 200 million Americans under a winter weather warning. Nearly 20 states under a state of emergency tonight. And tonight, nearly 900,000 people are without power. A majority in southern states, with Tennessee and Mississippi hit the hardest right now. Some are being warned it could take days to restore power. Travelers also stranded at airports. Today alone, we're seeing more than 11,000 flights canceled, another 16,000 delayed, according to FlightAware. And you can see a snowplow there working to clear the airport runway in Ohio. Freezing temperatures hitting minus 34 degrees in parts of New York. With ice and snow expected to continue into the week, we are getting now to News Nation's Leah Landa, who is tracking this massive winter storm for us. Leah, you're in New York City. Over 90% of the flights canceled today at LaGuardia Airport.
That's right. And of course, a lot of people are stuck here in New York. If they were planning on leaving, tourists, and they wanted to take a flight, that didn't happen for many of them. Now, here in New York, the snow started early this morning, continued throughout the day. And I want to take you out here just to show you what we're dealing with now. It is more of a sleet, wintry mix and a lot of slush on the roads. Several inches of accumulation. And of course, when the crews move this off the road onto the sidewalk, then they go to clear the sidewalks and they move it back on the road because, of course, in New York City, there's not a lot of places you can put all of this snow. So we will be cleaning up here for several days. And we also took a look at some of the hardest hit areas across the country.
This storm is stretching from the south and the plains into the east, bringing a mix of heavy snow, sleet, and freezing rain with bitter cold right behind it. Perhaps the biggest headache for millions, air travel. More than 15,000 delays and about 11,000 cancellations nationwide today, making this one of the worst single-day disruptions since the pandemic, according to FlightAware and an aviation analytics firm. Some of the hardest hit hubs include Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, Fort Worth, Washington, D.C., and the New York City airports, where cancellations stacked up throughout the day. And it's not just travel. The ice and wind knocking out power. Close to 900,000 customers out electricity at points during this storm, with some of the biggest impacts reported in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. But the storm isn't hitting everyone the same way. In some places, it looks like a postcard. In others, it's a full-on hazard. In New York, even as crews treat the streets, families squeezing in a little winter fun, turning parks into sled hills. Just outside the city, Long Island got the harshest version, blowing snow, icy shorelines, and the National Weather Service reporting around 6 inches at JFK and around 8 inches at Newark by the early afternoon, the kind of snow that turns a simple drive into a bad decision. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, New York, one of the most striking images of the storm, drone video showing Lake Erie freezing over so fast it's become ice as far as the eye can see. Locals even setting up along the harbor for ice fishing, taking advantage of the deep freeze, even as winter storm warnings remain in effect. And then there's the video that makes you hold your breath. People walking out on an ice-covered pier in St. Joseph, Michigan, despite warning signs. It looks solid, but officials keep reminding everyone ice can break without warning, and rescue attempts put more lives at risk. In Arkansas, it was the morning surprise. Neighborhoods waking up under a fresh blanket of snow with warnings of a second wave moving in, and officials saying disruptions could last for days. In Texas, where you don't always expect it, the storm turning into Texas-style snowboarding, a pickup towing a snowboarder down a snow-covered road. While perhaps funny to watch, officials say this can be very dangerous.
And Natasha, back here in New York City, the mayor says at least 5 people have died as a result of the extreme cold temperatures, and that's what meteorologists say are going to be a problem beyond this, because once the precipitation stops, all of this snow that you see on the ground, there's no chance of a melt anytime soon. They're expecting very cold temperatures for the next 2 weeks. Natasha.
All right, Leah Lando live in New York with that. Thank you.
Major winter storm striking most of the eastern United States, and its impacts being seen in the valley. More than 300 flights have been delayed or canceled at Sky Harbor today, leaving hundreds of passengers stranded. That same winter storm has turned deadly in some parts of the nation, with at least 5 people confirmed dead in just New York City alone.
Heavy snow, dangerous ice, and frigid temperatures leaving millions of Americans without power tonight during the coldest weekend of the year. Kathleen Maloney has more.
A massive winter storm is keeping parts of the U.S. at a standstill. Nearly 200 million people are under weather warnings from the southwest to the northeast as freezing temperatures, snow, and ice disrupt daily life.
All the governors I've talked to multiple times, and we've been working with them and their emergency management directors to make sure they have the equipment that they need.
The governor of Massachusetts says she expects 3,000 pieces of equipment to be on the roads in her state, clearing snow and de-icing. She's asking the public to stay home and be patient.
It's going to take a while for cleanup, probably up to 4 hours to really clean everything. So I ask that the public be patient. You're going to have people, guys, who've been working 24 hours, okay? Everybody's doing the best they can, as quickly as they can.
More than 1 million customers are without power, and tens of thousands of flights have been disrupted.
I think the entire neighborhood's out. I don't really have a backup plan. No power. I have a couple gas fireplaces, so may rely on those after a while.
And so far, 5 states are reporting more than a foot of snow. That number is expected to increase as the storm rolls into Monday. All week, residents stocked up on essentials.
Certainly food, because the big concern was power outages. So definitely food, snacks, thinking about what can you eat if the power goes out, just kind of preparing that way.
Over the next few days, Winter Storm Fern is expected to impact schools, travel, businesses, and sporting events. Kathleen Maloney, Fox News.
So we are back again with Fox News for the article about that Texas teen who died after a Jeep-pulled sled strikes a curb and tree during severe winter storm. A teenager girl was killed and another critically injured in a sledding accident involving a Jeep. In Texas, authorities said police and firefighters responded just before 3 p.m. Sunday to a call about a sledding accident on a residential street in the Frisco Police Department said. Two 16-year-old girls were found with life-threatening injuries. First responders performed life-saving measures and rushed the teams to local hospitals. One teen, however, died of her injuries at the hospital, while the other one remains in a critical condition. A plane with 8 on board crashes in Maine, leaving 7 dead. That is another article that we will be coming to soon, or possibly we will be watching a video about it. One or the other, we will be hearing about that plane crash that left 7 dead. But there is a picture of Angie, bless her soul, sweet looking kid there that's no longer with us after that tobogganing tragedy, as I like to call it, but sledging fatality due to the bad weather. She was a sophomore at Wakefield High School, and she played soccer for her school team and the club team FC Dallas. So she was a little bit of a superstar there, perhaps, if she was paying for the club team FC Dallas. But Facebook, and the picture comes from Facebook, and there is her name, Megan Taylor Angeli. I'm not sure there. But the preliminary investigation indicated that the 16-year-old boy was driving a Jeep Wrangler, product placement, while pulling the girls on a sledge. 2 girls, 1 Jeep. Oh goodness, that's not very funny at all, really. But witnesses said that the sled struck a curb and collided with a tree. Police said that they would not release the identities of the 3 teams to the public, but we've just heard about Megan. But as they are all juveniles, but a social media post by Megan Angel said that the girl who died was her daughter Elizabeth Magel, and Deborah Newbury left, and 2 others stand by a makeshift memorial on Monday, January the 26th, 2026, which was yesterday at time of recording. Probably 2 days ago by the time you watch this, in Frisco, Texas, where over the weekend a 16-year-old female lost her life in a sledding accident that critically injured another. It is with deep despair and utter shock that Brian and I announced the passing of our beautiful 16-year-old Elizabeth Marie Engel, she wrote. I wonder if they'll be setting up a GoFundMe. Good old-fashioned snow day may be healthy for kids, doctors say. Permission to unplug, although not very healthy for poor Megan, or Elizabeth rather, who had a tragic tobogganing accident and is no longer with us. So maybe ignore that doctor's advice there. But Angel remembered her daughter as a bright, fun and a bright light and a fun spirit, a brave soul who had just got a driver's license and a car. Life is fleeting and precious. I take comfort that she had people helping her till the end, Angie wrote, and we will never be the same and will never forget how much love she brought to our family. Please lift her up in a prayer. There is another photograph of the makeshift memorial that is shown at the site on January 26 in Frisco, where that poor young lady lost her life. Angel was a sophomore at Wakefield High School. She played soccer for her school team and the club team FC Dallas. Police said that the investigation remains active, and the department warns citizens that snow and ice can create extremely slippery surfaces and lead to serious or even deadly accidents. A winter storm brought heavy snow and crippling ice to large swaths of the nation, including Texas, over the weekend, and most areas in North Texas were covered in ice, sleet, and snow, creating hazardous conditions. And that is the end of that article. But again, very, very sad stuff. Very unfortunate accident indeed to be 1 minute having fun and trying to make the sort of most of being in a historic ice storm, and a moment later you're lying in the snow fighting for your life. So let's head over to another article. So this story comes from Reuters, courtesy of Yahoo News. Winter storm kills dozens as cold lingers in central and eastern United States. Tuesday, January 27, 2026, at 3:38 p.m. Snow covers a street near the U.S. Capitol, building 2 days after a winter storm in Washington, January 27th. At least 38 people across 14 states have died as of Tuesday from a powerful winter storm that left much of the central and eastern U.S. gripped by snow, ice, and below freezing temperatures, according to local officials and news reports. The storm started to develop on Friday and dumped snow across a large region over the weekend. The snow snarled road traffic and led to widespread flight cancellations and power outages before subsiding on Monday, leaving behind a bitter cold that is expected to linger. By Tuesday, cities were mobilizing emergency responders and resources to ensure that residents, particularly the homeless people, were safe, even as more than 550,000 homes and businesses across the country lacked electricity. 10 of the storm's fatal victims were in New York City, where temperatures were at the coldest they had been in 8 years. Mayor Zoran Mamdani said at a news conference on Tuesday when the low hit 8 degrees Fahrenheit. While the 10 victims were found dead outside, it was not clear whether they were homeless. Mamdani told reporters Monday that some of the dead had had interactions with our shelter system in the past, and it is still too early to share a broader diagnosis of the cause of death. New York City postponed from this week until early February an annual count of its homeless population required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Outreach workers should be focused on bringing New Yorkers inside, not on data collection, Mamdani said. Here is the bottom line. New York City is under extreme weather is not a personal failure. Around 500 of more than 4,000 homeless people estimated to live in the city's streets and subways have been placed in shelters since January 19th, Mamdani carried on to say. Outreach workers were checking every 2 hours on 350 homeless people who are at particular risk due to underlying medical conditions. In Nashville, Tennessee, a city of around 680,000, where more than 135,000 homes and businesses remain without power, the temperature is expected to drop to 6 degrees Fahrenheit by Wednesday morning with below zero wind chills. Let's be clear about this, said Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell on a Tuesday press conference. It is a historic ice storm. Nashville office officials have said about 1,400 homeless people had filled all 3 of the city's homeless shelters and 2 overflowing shelters, with police and firefighters working overtime and emergency workers checking the streets. A Nashville rescue mission, a homeless charity that feeds, clothes and offers shelter year-round, typically might have around 400 people a night, but in the cold snap, that number has swollen to around 7,000. We are always full, but we never turn anyone away. An attendant who was not authorized to speak to reporters, so did not give a name, told Reuters by telephone. When the weather is bad, people come in out of the cold. Various causes of death across the country. Storm-related causes of death range from hypothermia and exposure to cardiac incidences while clearing snow in Bonham, Texas, around 55 miles northeast of Dallas. 3 young boys died after falling in an ice pond over the weekend. Though the exact circumstances were unclear, according to the local fire department, several hours away in Austin, Texas, a person died of an apparent hypothermia while trying to get to shelter at an abandoned gas station. Authorities said other hypothermia deaths were reported from Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Michigan, according to local media. Almost 200 million Americans remain under some form of winter cold warning that will last at least until February the 1st. Forecasters are watching another possible winter storm to impact the eastern U.S. This weekend, says David Roth, not of Van Halen, I take it. He's a meteorologist with the National Weather Service's Weather Prediction Center, reporting by Rich McKay in Atlanta. And there's another article. Another Arctic blast will drive into the south and east, bringing a record cold to even Florida. So let's click on that one. That's only a 4-minute read. Again, this is from Yahoo News, and this article is actually from the Weather Channel. Another Arctic blast will dive into the south and east and even bring in a record cold to Florida. And this again was from only a few hours ago. While extreme cold has settled into the eastern half of the United States, including many across the south, shivering without power after Winter Storm Fern. Oh, so they've given it a name. Another shot of even colder air will spill south and east late this week and into the weekend. This next round of cold air will have the potential to break records as far south as the Florida Keys. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm not exactly that far away from the Florida Keys, and it's actually been a very sort of overcast, cloudy and cold day here, although some of you who are in the northeastern part of the United States or in some of these states that are currently under weather alert warnings will probably be a little bit jealous that it's 71 degrees here, but feeling very cold to me. But the record cold will be reaching as far as the Florida Keys, bringing not only the coldest air of the season to the Sunshine State, but possibly the coldest air in more than 15 years in parts of South Florida. And actually did see that Florida did have a little bit of a sprinkling of snow in northern Florida. I think it was in Pensacola. But Winter Storm Fern recap, the National Weather Service has issued extreme cold alerts in parts of the South and Ohio Valley for the cold air that's currently in its place. As the map below shows, and as the week progresses, expect these alerts to expand for the second shot of cold air. It's not a very impressive looking map. It's only got a little bit of blue. But many dozens of daily record cold, high and low temperatures may fall by the wayside this week in the south and the east, and that's tough to do during what is already the coldest time of year. By the end of the weekend, freezing temperatures could stretch as far south as South Florida, the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. This second round of record cold will arrive in Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast on Thursday and last through Saturday, with the cold peaking on Friday. We could see dozens of records fall as temperatures drop to the single digits and teens below zero from Ohio to New Jersey. Even Washington, D.C. is expected to drop to 2 degrees on Friday morning. This will be a similar trend all the way up the I-95 corridor, with many places dropping to at least zero. When you factor in the wind chill or the feels like temperature, temperatures will feel even colder. Deep south and southeast, there is another map there with some temperatures and scary stuff going on. Deep south and southeast, this second round of cold will arrive in the deep south and southeast on Friday, impacting many of the same people who have just been hit by Winter Storm Fern. Cold records could fall from Oklahoma to the Carolinas. On Saturday, high temperatures will struggle to get above freezing, even for places like Montgomery, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia. Lows bottom out on Sunday morning when temperatures will drop into the teens as far south as New Orleans and the Florida Panhandle. Widespread temperatures will drop on to the teens in single digits for places in and around Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville. Morning wind chills in the south are forecast to stay in the single digits and teens for many places. Atlanta could wake up on Sunday morning with a wind chill of only 5 degrees. Another map. Yes, Florida will be cold too. Yes, even Florida will get it in on the cold this round as well. Many areas that have been enjoying temperatures in the 60s and 70s while the rest of us freeze will see temperatures plummet. This will be by far the coldest air of the season for the Sunshine State, and the cold air will arrive on Saturday and peak on Sunday and Monday. On Sunday morning, northern Florida will bottom out. I mean, they already know what's going to happen in this. Another article we just read said it's hard to predict, but the Weather Channel is saying that this will happen. And on Sunday morning, northern Florida will bottom out in the teens and temperatures will drop to the 20s as far south as Orlando. Highs in central Florida Sunday may not make it out of the 40s with a stiff wind. Even South Florida will experience the cold. Lows will be in the mid-30s as far south as Fort Lauderdale and Miami, and on Sunday morning with wind chills in the 20s. Afternoon highs will only make it to the mid-50s. Even part of the Keys will drop to the 40s on Sunday morning and stay in the 50s for the afternoon. Records already set early this week. More than a dozen record lows were set on Monday morning across the Deep South, and many just the state of Texas alone as temperatures dropped well below freezing. Some of the cities with new daily record lows include New Orleans, 27 degrees, San Antonio, Texas, 19 degrees, Austin, Texas, 19 degrees, Brownsville, Texas, 30 degrees, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 0 degrees, Springfield, Missouri, minus 11 degrees. And what is more impressive, that some of the cold records were long-standing, meaning we haven't seen this severe of a cold snap since the 1940s or the 60s in some cases. In San Antonio, the previous record low was set in 1897. A handful of record lows were also set on Tuesday across parts of Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and South Carolina as morning lows Tuesday dropped below freezing lead again. Jennifer Gray isn't from Dirty Dancing. She's a weather and a climate writer for weather.com, and she has been covering some of the world's biggest weather and climate stories for the last 2 decades. Well, good for you, Jennifer Gray. So let's go and break things up again with a few more videos, and we might be back with a couple of articles after that.
Hey guys, it's me again, Ariana Grande, Ardee's imaginary virtual assistant, here to remind you once again that if you wish to support the channel, you can do so by buying Ardee a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. You will find the link in the description, along with links to Ardee's previously unwatched playlists you are unlikely to click on or watch. No One Watches RD is the home of unwatchable content and videos no one watches. At times I really don't know why he bothers. But his dedication to producing unwatchable content is truly amazing. The 12 of you watching are among the most lucky viewers on YouTube, having such a wonderful, kind, caring, super intelligent content creator, making videos just for you.
From New Mexico to Maine, a massive winter storm impacting more than half of our country, leaving snow, ice, and bitter temperatures in its path. Coming up on your screen, you're looking at what just fell in our parking lot just moments ago as this winter storm continues to blow through our state. From roads to power outages, we have team coverage tonight. But first, let's get you right over to Chief Meteorologist Byron Morin.
Hey there, Leah. The storm playing out pretty much how we thought it would. And look at the snow that is coming down in the Ruidoso area right now. And this is the second wave of this storm system. And that's what we expected to be colder and snowier. 19 degrees in Ruidoso. Of course, you had some ice in the area earlier. They've already had over 13 inches of snowfall reported at Ski Apache. Albuquerque, we had that sleet and also some graupel and rain earlier. You see the mountains are coated in the snow right now. 41 degrees reported from the Sunport with a wind chill of 37 degrees here in Albuquerque. And you see that wave of some sleet and also graupel and rain that pushed across the Albuquerque metro. But we look back to the west because that's where our next piece of energy is coming from. And this is convective. Some lightning strikes here around Gallup and Grants and also into portions of Arizona. This is the last piece of energy that is going to swing through New Mexico, interact with that Arctic air in play and the Pacific moisture to bring that next wave of snow across New Mexico and a better chance of accumulating snow as well. So winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings for a large part of the state with the heaviest impacts. Again, focus in eastern parts of the state where we have those bitter cold temperatures. It's just 9 in Clayton and Clovis right now, 18 in Roswell, and those wind chills are even colder, below 0 for Clovis into Clayton. We do have cold weather advisories and warnings for southeast New Mexico all the way through Monday. You want to protect your pets as well. Coming up in just a little bit, meteorologist Olga Breeze will be back timing it out hour by hour, and we could see snow right here in Albuquerque while you're sleeping. But first, back to Leah.
All right, Byron, thank you so much. Well, take a look at this footage out of Ruidoso. You can see those tree branches on top of those vehicles, snow and ice likely causing them to fall on that van and that truck. Those branches so heavy, they quite literally left their mark on those vehicles there. And that ice is also taking down power lines. This is all out of Ruidoso as well. You can see just how heavy they've become. Icicles dangling from the lines there. And oh, there we go. There's that video there. Well, as many as 3,000 people were without power. Village officials say once those branches are coated in ice, they can't hold much weight.
We have a lot of wires that have been brought down by the weight of the ice on them. And then in addition to that, a lot of trees that have fallen, and some of them have fallen on the ground, on vehicles, and some of them fall into the lines and pull the lines down.
Power restoration times can vary depending upon the amount of ice and how much damage it causes.
If we get major icing, it could start taking poles and arms down, turns into a little more significant restoration event, more crews, longer time period to get that done.
Xcel Energy serves the eastern portion of our state, and officials there say that their system is built to handle certain levels of ice and wind. They have around 100 crews plus additional servicemen ready to respond. And PNM says it's also working to keep power on during this storm. If there are outages, they have these tips.
Some batteries, some flashlights, things that you may need in the event of a power outage. If you experience a power outage, we encourage customers to report that to PNM. If you do end up seeing a downed line or a downed power pole, stay as far away as possible.
And we're seeing some major power outages in the southeastern part of our state, affecting communities from Ruidoso to Roswell. Right now on our KOAT app and our website, we have an article where you can track those outages. It has maps of the different utility companies, and you can look for it on our homepage. Because of that weather, there have already been some serious car wrecks all across New Mexico. This crash happening early this morning in Chavez County. The sheriff's office says icy roads caused this truck to completely roll over, then land right side up. It crashed off US Highway 70 near Roswell. In Clovis, crews at the Department of Transportation are plowing I-40 because of icy conditions. Crews are saying the eastern portion of the state are seeing the majority of the impacts. And in Ruidoso, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office warning drivers earlier this morning of multiple crashes along US 54. That's between Carrizozo and Corona because of icy conditions. And Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issuing an emergency declaration ahead of this storm. $200,000 will be available to support communities statewide. The State Emergency Operations Center is activated. That's to coordinate resources and collaborative agency responses.
It's going to be cold for such a long period of time that there may be power outages, there may be damage to infrastructure. And so that is what what we're probably most worried about is those freezing temperatures for multiple days at a time.
And this is a look at current road conditions. This is a look at the wet and slick roads in parts of New Mexico. We'll work to get that map up there for you. But if you look at it yourself, yellow indicates difficult driving conditions and red means severe. Green means that roads are wet and they could be slick. And as a reminder, you can check on the latest road conditions anytime on our website and our app. Winter weather always makes traveling more difficult. Experts say having an emergency kit inside your car can keep you safe even if you aren't planning on making a trip out during this weekend storm.
Some people don't plan to go out, sometimes there's an emergency, you have to leave your house. So just go ahead and put together that vehicle emergency kit. Well, you want things like traction aids. So sand, salt, non-clumping kitty litter can be good. Traction mats. Also, that way, if your tires are spinning out, you'll have something to give you traction.
And other essential items include shovels or ice scrapers, extra blankets and towels, and even something like a candle or matches that can help keep you warm in case you get stranded. Driving is highly discouraged during this storm. Remember, don't rush, slow down and leave plenty of room between you and the vehicle in front of you. Don't use cruise control. It can increase your chances of losing control on those slick roads, and always plan for delays. Well, keeping warm is top of mind for all of us. New Mexico Gas Company says it is prepared for the demand.
Not just for this storm, but for any big winter weather that we anticipate.
Okay.
Every time we go through a number of routines, we have all of our trucks come in and fill their fuel tanks so they're ready to go if something comes up.
Power or gas and need a warm place to stay. There are warming shelters set up all across our state. Those are scrolling on the bottom of your screen, or you can find a complete list on our app. And don't forget about your furry friends. They too can suffer from frostbite or hypothermia. To keep them safe, put them in a coat, protect their paws, and limit their time outside. If they do have to stay outside, make sure their water doesn't freeze and that their shelter has straw bedding, not hay. Lastly, consider wiping their paws after walks to remove salt or chemicals. Well, the East Mountains were blanketed with several inches of snow overnight. KOAT's John Rapolo is live in Edgewood. Hi, John.
Yeah, it started snowing here about a half hour ago. This is, of course, part 2 of that winter storm that we've been telling you about. Now, last night here, they got overnight about 3 inches of snow. Obviously, as you can see, there is more coming. Now, earlier today, we spent some time with road crews here in Edgewood. They're working 12-hour shifts around the clock. They'll continue into tomorrow. Crews tell us they didn't do much plowing overnight, but rather focused on sanding the major roadways. Town officials say no major problems as a result of the storm. But the biggest issue here has been that black ice on the roadways. It can be deadly if drivers aren't cautious as those temperatures drop. The problem you're looking at right now is black ice. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, what it's turning into, and it's going to get, it's saying about single digits and everything tonight, so it's going to get pretty cold. So, and what we got and everything, we got some rain and snow last night.
All right, New Mexico DOT telling us they will continue to treat I-40 and those off-ramps through the night. 2 major concerns here tonight in Edgewood. It's the snow accumulation that, as you can see, is coming. And, of course, as we said, that black ice. We're live in Edgewood. John Rapolo, KOAT, Action 7 News.
All right, thank you so much, John. Well, we'll head over to meteorologist Olga Breeze with the timeline of this storm as it exits New Mexico.
Yeah, we are definitely keeping an eye on the back end of the system, and there's also a possibility for many different types of precipitation overnight and into tomorrow morning. All depends on the vertical temperature profile. In other words, where we have all freezing temperatures from the sky all the way down to below, we're definitely going to see all snow. But there are areas that could see maybe even warmer warmer level further up in the atmosphere. That'll allow those crystals to melt a little bit and then freeze as they hit a pocket of cold air. So sleet is definitely a possibility overnight and into the morning. Then there's the freezing rain. That's where we have temperatures above freezing, but freezing in contact with that very cold surface. And then, of course, what we've seen here in the Albuquerque metro, all rain. So this definitely continuing over the next several hours. We've got our future track looking at about 7 o'clock tonight. And notice that most of that snow is off toward the east. We've got the rain to the south, but still it will shift gradually. But during the early morning hours, that's when we're expecting the crossover here in the Albuquerque metro. After about 2 a.m. into maybe sunrise, we should see some snowflakes falling from Santa Fe all the way down towards Socorro. Then gradually we're going to move this thing out by midday tomorrow and even see some sunshine into the afternoon and the evening. Aaliyah?
Olga, thank you so much.
Winter storm that'll hit North Texas tonight, and we'll be dealing with its impact for several days. We have live team coverage this afternoon, tracking the storm hour by hour, keeping an eye on the roads, keeping tabs on the airport, and monitoring grocery stores. Everything you need to know ahead of time before you ride it out this weekend. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Lawrence with Chief Meteorologist Pete Delkus. What do we all need to know right now?
Well, it looks like wherever that grocery store shot was, you still have time.
Oh,
there was
yeah.
nobody there. And if you need to run any errands, you're fine for the next several hours.
That's good to know.
Run out. I mean, it's raining, and it's a cold rain for the Metroplex for the majority of the evening. Even though the system has sped up a little bit, go do whatever you need to do, for the next several hours. Go out to dinner this evening as well. But instead of the 32-degree line, the freezing line reaching DFW about 3 or 4 in the morning, now it looks like it's going to be about midnight. And here's the story.
Okay.
Just because it turns 32 degrees at midnight, let's say, that doesn't mean the roads are going to ice up immediately. You really need to get to around 30 or 31 degrees to start to really see some impacts. But that's going to be late this evening, certainly through the overnight. Okay, and that's at DFW. That'll happen earlier to the north of DFW, northern Denton County, northern Collin County, and certainly up along the Red River.
Before it does in Waxahachie and areas like that.
And then it'll be later than that south of the Metroplex. Okay. But you still go do whatever you need to do this afternoon and govern yourself accordingly like you typically would when we have rain falling. But let me start with this. It's our WFA weather alert. It's now through Monday morning. Okay. You know the impact. It's the rain that we have out there now. It's a cold rain turning to sleet. Here's the order that it's going to take place. It's cold rain now. It's then going to turn into freezing rain, and then it's going to turn into sleet, and then it's going to end to some snow showers on Sunday morning. I do expect icy roads. I expect some really cold temperatures, and I do believe that power outages will be a possibility. And I've already started to cancel schools on Monday. Could that linger into Tuesday? Hard to say right now, possible, but without a doubt, there's going to be a whole bunch of school cancellations on Monday, and there already are. So what do you need? You need to stay updated all weekend. Please remember the 4 Ps, people, pets, pipes, and plants. I really want you to remember the first 2. I want you to remember your elderly neighbors. I want just your neighbors, right? Just remember these folks. I mean, I know we have a lot of elderly neighbors. Just check on them, make sure everything's okay through the weekend. Bring your pets inside. My wife's already done that, which actually they're in the house a lot anyway. And the pipes and the plants. I mean, you still have a few more hours to bring those plants in. They're going to be wet, but bring those plants in as well. And download WFA Plus to your TV. That's for extended winter weather coverage throughout this entire event. Winter storm warning for all of North Texas. What's happening over here? It's what we talked about yesterday. It's ice. More ice here than ice here. An ice storm warning in East Texas. So please keep that in mind. I'll show you why in just a moment, higher ice amounts, but I'll show you the totals in a moment. And then we have an extreme cold warning. That's Saturday evening through Monday morning. That's Saturday night and it's Sunday night. Wind chills 5 to 10 degrees below zero. It is going to be really, really cold. The green on my map and the yellow, that's just rain. The pink, that's the freezing rain and also the sleet. So there we are. It's just wide. We need the rain. This is awesome news right here. We have some nice, we haven't had a good soaker since before Thanksgiving. I think it was November 20th. 44 degrees right now in Dallas. It's 37 in Denton, 37 at Fort Worth, 34 in Decatur. Bowie has dropped to freezing. Or below freezing. It's 31 degrees there. Look at Wichita Falls, it's 26. So that cold air is really, really rushing in. So that's the way it looks right now. Here we are at 7 o'clock. Metroplex is still just wet from a cold rain. 9 o'clock, it's still a cold rain in the Metroplex. 11 o'clock, it's starting to transition up in Denton County at 11 o'clock. And then by 3 o'clock in the morning, you can see it's freezing rain across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. South, it's still a cold rain. And then by 5 a.m., it's dropping farther south. At 8 o'clock in the morning, all of North Texas has seen freezing rain and sleet and even a few flakes of snow. Now we're looking at sleet throughout the morning on Saturday. I have more sleet at noon. We have a little bit of a break. It lightens up Saturday afternoon, and then a big surge of sleet moves in Saturday night. How much ice will we pick up? This has not changed for the Metroplex. A glaze, a coating, a quarter, maybe up to a half an inch. But remember, when I say a glaze, a quarter, maybe up to a half, I know a lot of folks latch on, well, we're only going to have a half, or we're only going to have a glaze. It's somewhere within that range. Look at that, a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch in these areas in East Texas. That's why you're under the ice storm warning. Down in Central Texas, it's a lot less, maybe a glaze up to 1/4 of an inch. How about snow? It's not just snow, it's a lot of sleet for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. How much up along the Red River? 3 to 5 inches, some spots even higher amounts than that. The Metroplex, 1 to 3, isolated higher amounts. South, it could be less than 1 inch. So please don't forget, WFA Weather Alert Day in effect now through Monday morning. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'll have more coming up.
Well, Pete, in the past couple hours, the school closings started pouring in, although we're still waiting to hear from some of our largest districts like Dallas and Fort Worth ISD. Others are making an early call on Monday, canceling classes in Carroll, Grapevine, Colleyville, Keller, Melissa, and Northwest ISD. The full list, we'll have it scrolling there at the bottom of your screen, and we'll keep updating these closures all weekend on WFAA.com. Grocery stores could be some of the busiest places over the next few hours. It's usually one of the last places people hit before settling in. Here's a look at some of the empty shelves in Dallas at the Tom Thumb on Live Oak. We also saw big crowds at H-E-B and Costco earlier in the day, but some stores could still have supplies available if you're in need. Dia Wall spent all afternoon speaking with shoppers as well as grocery store managers. She's leading our coverage from that Tom Thumb.
Well, Chris, you hit the nail on the head. If you want to get out and shop, now is the time to do it. I told you guys at the top of our 4 o'clock news tonight that I was going to find all of the top 20 items that shoppers look for in the Texas area when winter weather hits. We were successful here at Tom Thumb in Deep Ellum, but we know that's not the case at every store across North Texas. And literally, right when you were tossing to us, they're opening up another lane here because that's how many shoppers are out trying to get those last minute groceries. I know we popped up the camera and there was nobody here, but now they're trying to come on out and accommodate as many people as they can as they're trying to get those last minute supplies. We have Christy Lara from Tom Thumb. You have seen countless winter weather events in your more than 30 years with the company. Just talk to me. One, are people behaving out here during this winter weather?
Well, listen, Dia. They are, actually. Yes, people are behaving. They're being kind to their neighbors. They're recognizing, hey, I need to get what I need for the weekend, but also somebody right behind me might need to get what they need for the weekend. And so we're really happy and pleased to say that that's going well so far.
A lot of shoppers out here, but a lot of team members too. I mean, the staff has been buzzing through here, restocking throughout the day. How are you guys handling the winter weather? What's your advice for people who may want to shop, the customers, and how are you taking care of the staff?
Absolutely. Well, we've been working all week to make sure that we can back everything up earlier in the week so customers can get those items that they need before the weekend. We have adjusted our hours for tomorrow. We want to make sure customers and associates are safe. And so we're opening a little bit late at 8 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m. on Saturday and on Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
Christy, thank you so much. You know, we know these impacts from the winter weather that's moving in don't just affect us on the ground. It also has a big impact on the skies. We want to bring you a live look at both of our airports, DFW and Love Field, because the cancellations for Saturday are already stacking up. More than 1,000 already for DFW Airport tomorrow and close to 200 at Dallas Love Field. So think about if you were trying to get in or out of town. Maybe you got some loved ones who are traveling. Just the anxiety of it all and trying to get those last minute trips in before the weather officially starts to move in. We're going to go out live to Matt Howerton, who is at Dallas Love Field. And Matt, I can imagine just the emotion and the stress of this weather and its impact on any travel plans.
Well, Dia, it's been a very busy day today, from rebookings to travel waivers to passengers glued to the flight boards. All of it on deck this Friday. Both DFW Airport and Love Field among the top 3 airports in the nation with the most cancellations for Saturday. Right now on the flight board behind me, not a lot of red up there for those cancellations, but trust me, they're coming.
Inside our airports in North Texas, you could feel it.
We've decided to go just a little bit early due to the craziness.
Not panic, just purpose.
I've been tracking our airplane, and I think we're going to be fine.
People moving a little faster, hoping they'd lift off before winter closes the door.
We actually moved our flight up. We have been checking our phones like every minute.
Both DFW Airport and Love Field canceling more than 1,000 flights in anticipation of ice, sleet, and snow that will arrive overnight.
Crossing my fingers.
Wheels up.
Yes, wheels up, hopefully.
This guy's got a snow shovel.
Both airports stocked with tens of thousands of gallons of de-icing liquid. Plows will groom runways and taxiways.
He's got his work cut out for him.
DFW Airport tells us those operations will run 24/7, and they will be essential as things creep back to normal on Monday and Tuesday. If your flight does have a chance, officials are asking passengers to arrive early and safely.
I'm going to Vegas, so I'm not worried about the storm, but good luck to y'all. We'll see you on Monday.
But Shay Dukes will not be here for it. She's trading Dallas for the slots.
If not, we'll be snowed in Vegas.
In Dallas.
Good place to be.
I'm Matt Howerton.
So as you can all see, man, we are really watching all of the impacts of this winter weather. And Chris, that extends to the power supply. There's a lot of concern about if the grid will hold, especially after that deadly deep freeze in 2021. I know you're monitoring those conditions.
Yeah, Dee, you're not the only one asking about that as well. ERCOT's under a weather watch right now, which is more of an advisory than a call to arms. The agency that manages the grid just told us they're closely monitoring conditions and the available supply. But here, take a look at the current gray conditions. The green is a very good sign. That said, energy experts expect demand to increase as the weather gets worse and it gets colder. Demand could peak Monday morning. And while state officials don't anticipate any problems, they do recommend reducing your electricity use during some of those peak hours. We know some people have a hard time driving on wet roads even before things start to freeze. So, Stacia, what does all this rain do to TxDOT's brining operation?
Well, understandably so. A lot of that brine being washed away with this rain, but TxDOT entering the second phase of their road treatments right at 5 p.m. So they've already started. They are currently out and about de-icing the roads. And actually, the moisture that's currently on the roads is helping that de-icing agent activate faster. It's dissolving and staying on the road as opposed to being dry and just kind of getting sloughed off. It needs that moisture to basically activate. Just watching what's happening across the Metroplex, we do have a few problems out there. Lots of people out and about trying to get things done before the freeze starts this weekend, including an accident. Looks like it's in the clearing stages. That's good news. At one point, they had the westbound side totally shut down. This is close to Fate in Rockwall County. I-30 west and eastbound being affected right there at Blackland Road. If you do have plans to go out this evening, yeah, you're going to be dealing with wet roadways, but that is better than going out tomorrow when you're dealing with icy roadways. Try to get done whatever you need to, but if you are venturing out right now, as always, watch your speed. Please be safe. And just to note, Tex Express there in Tarrant County has closed all their toll roads until further notice.
Tonight here with the breaking news, governors in multiple states at this hour warning millions of Americans of a catastrophic winter storm just now starting to hit. At least 17 states declaring states of emergency already tonight. Heavy snow, dangerous ice, freezing rain, and then life-threatening brutal cold moving in. More than 180 million people under alerts. The massive storm building in Texas and Oklahoma, stretching 2,000 miles across the south into the Carolinas and then up the coast into the Northeast. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. In New York City, city officials tonight are preparing for up to a foot of snow. Authorities warning of dangerous driving even before the storm. Dashcam video showing a driver losing control, crashing on I-70 in Belmont County, Ohio. Philadelphia loading plows and sanders with salt tonight. The city declaring a snow emergency. Drivers urged to stay off the roads. It's going to be a dangerous mix of freezing rain, ice, and snow. Thousands of flights already canceled tonight right through tomorrow. They are expecting some airports to close down entirely for hours on Sunday. From New York to Texas tonight, a familiar scene playing out. Customers lining up at grocery stores. This image here in New York, stocking up on supplies tonight. Stores across the country now with bare shelves. Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out, the potential ice and snow totals depending on where you are, and we'll take you right through it. And ABC's Morgan Norwood leading us off tonight from Dallas, where the system is just getting started tonight.
Tonight, that powerful winter storm threatening more than half the country, set to slam millions with heavy snow and crippling ice. Authorities warning families to take this seriously, from New York all the way down to Texas. New York Governor Kathy Hochul tonight.
This is a very dangerous combination of heavy snow and extreme cold temperatures.
New York City bracing for what could be its biggest snowstorm in nearly 5 years, up to a foot possible. Epic lines at grocery stores, parts of the South bracing for potentially catastrophic impacts, up to an inch of ice possible. Fears of more crashes like these in Belmont County, Ohio this week. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee sounding the alarm.
We all know that there is a very serious winter storm coming. Snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain. Very dangerous conditions.
In Texas, road crews out in force. And here in Dallas, brine shrubs, sand, cones strategically placed under major overpasses so road crews can quickly respond as conditions worsen. Officials warning the ice could knock out power for days.
We're going to monitor all of the impacts to the electric grid.
Utility teams racing into the storm zone ahead of expected widespread power outages. And right after this storm, brutally cold temperatures sweeping in from the north across most of this country, expected to last for days. Our Alex Perez is in Chicago.
Here near Lake Michigan in Chicago, you can see the water is completely frozen over. The Midwest in a deep freeze. The feel-like temperature in some spots 30 to 40 below zero.
That brutal cold will soon spread across the country. And David, with this nearly 2,000-mile wide storm already developing, the rain is here in Dallas, and the big concern is temperatures plunge overnight. Everything, these roads, will turn to ice. David?
And very quickly, Morgan Norwood leading us off here. Morgan, thank you.
Temperatures have dropped into the single digits in some areas. Wind chills dipping even below zero in many states. And joining us right now is storm chaser Brett Adair with new video from Mississippi and Alabama. Brett, good morning to you. You currently are in Alabama, which did get hit with that ice storm. What are conditions like right now, and how have they changed since the storm hit over the weekend?
Well, it's funny, Jan, that you mentioned the black ice situation. We dealt with some of that on our way back from Mississippi over to northwest Alabama last night. We had rainfall here in northwest Alabama, actually, that melted some of that ice in the Florence area off the trees, off the homes, off the roadways. But as the temperatures dropped from the mid-30s back into the low 20s, it literally flash froze on the roadways. So we had numerous accidents around here. But just to the west, we saw just significant icing, 1 to 2 inches of ice accumulation from the Mississippi Delta region up into northeast Mississippi and southern middle Tennessee going up toward the Nashville area. That's just knocked out power. We even have heard that there's TVA transmission lines that went down across portions of Tippah County, which means that this isn't a situation for those guys that they're just going to be able to go back out and put those, those stick power poles up. The main large metal transmission lines went down. So this is a situation where you may have a week or weeks, plural, without power in some areas there.
That is frightening. And when you talk about 1 to 2 inches, that is significant. That's a significant amount of ice. What's different about this storm? And is that really the biggest danger right now, the ice?
Well, the ice and the cold, because we're not expected to get above freezing for several days, and that's the big issue. You've got the weight of the ice that's still on the trees and on infrastructure. So as your reporter showed in Nashville, it's very easy to get caught underneath one of those trees that could crash down onto your home, onto you. So you have to be very diligent if you have to be out in this situation. But not only that, again, the cold weather is going to be the problem too, because here in the Deep South, we're not used to dealing with these ice storms on a regular basis, or snowstorms for that matter. So people aren't used to the extreme cold. It's a little bit different. The equipment to clean this up isn't as readily available as it is in the northern states. So again, this is going to be a pretty long recovery process through much of the week, and you're going to see many school systems that are going to remain closed at least through the first half of the week, if not all week, due to the dangers ahead.
Speaking of which, without electricity, you have no heat. And so this could turn into, for many people there, it could turn deadly, as we know. So what are you hearing about the current time frame to restore power as those temperatures continue to plummet over the next week?
Well, a lot of crews didn't even get out yesterday because some of the power companies deemed it too dangerous to work, which is totally understandable with all the ice. We're going to see more trees fall. There's no doubt about that. Yesterday, it sounded like shotgun blast when we were out filming some of this video there you see in Corinth, Mississippi, because again, over an inch of ice was on the trees. So we had to be pretty careful too and stay in open areas. We're using the drone there so that we could get better shots while we were in the open areas just to stay away from those trees. So it's going to be several days in many of these areas that the power remains out. And again, there's warming shelters open. Our best advice is to monitor your local officials. Emergency management agencies are giving great information in terms of those warming shelters if you have any needs in the local areas.
What are your top do's and don'ts for anyone who needs to get out in this mess?
Well, the biggest thing is if you're in one of these areas that was hardest hit, if you don't have to get out and you have power, don't. If you do, you just have to be extremely careful again because the roadways still have some ice compaction. You must remember in some of the videos you'll see there's a white covered roadway because some sleet actually fell before the freezing rain changeover. So as that's gotten driven on and compacted down, you're not going to see that layer of ice over the top. So a lot of these roads are still unsafe. Now there will be some melting as the sun comes out, even as the temperatures are above or below freezing, I'll say, because you got some of that radiational warming from the sun that will assist in melting, but that's just going to refreeze again later as the sun goes down, and then the icing situation on the roads could get worse. So if you do have to do anything, do it during the day because a lot of these cities are totally black at night right now because they have no power.
Wow. All right, Brett, we appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning as we continue tracking Winter Storm Fern and visit other parts of the country dealing with the recovery and the impacts. Thank you.
We have our emergency shelter. We are housing 75 individuals that are coming in off the streets. We used to do our shelter at Shepherd's Gym. It was a great place, but they had heating issues recently that they were unable to fix. So we had to pivot and find something new on a whim within a couple days. So we decided to have it here at Shower Power. We had a company come in and spray foam our entire area back there to create a little bit of a heat barrier and also put in new heating elements so we would actually have heat.
So the weather it dropped below zero last night and it has stayed in the single digits today. So it's really, really dangerous to be outdoors for any length of time if you're not properly, have the proper winter gear for that. So it's pretty brutal. So whenever the temperatures get this low, we open up our gymnasium and we create an emergency shelter space. So right now we have about 80 cots in our gymnasium.
Lately, I have to sleep in my car. I've been sleeping in my car, but I've been watching the weather for like the last week, and I just keep hearing all these crazy weather alerts, and they talking about how terrible the weather is gonna be, and it kind of scared me a little bit. I wish I was in a better predicament, but to be going through what I'm going through, my first night staying here, it was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. It was very welcoming, very warm. I felt sheltered for sure. It's brutal out there. It's so cold it hurts. Like it hurts. It's painful. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a No One Watches RD video that nobody watches without an obligatory token mention of our fine friends at FEMA. And here is our obligatory token mention from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, our fine friends of FEMA, who have prepared a preparation for a winter storm. I don't know, safety announcement, public safety thing, I don't know. Winter storms create a higher risk of car accidents, hypothermia, frostbites, carbon monoxide poisoning, and heart attacks from overexertion. And there are a picture of people at greater risk, disabled people and babies. Can last a few hours or several days, can knock out, goodness, it's very small to read, let's try and make it big. Can knock out heat, power and communication services. If you are under a storm warning, find shelter, stay straight away. Stay off roads, stay indoors and dress warmly, prepare for power outages, use generators outside only, pay attention to emergency information and alerts, look for signs of hypothermia and frostbite and check on neighbors. And here is below a list of how to stay safe this winter, which I'm not going to try to read because it's far too small, but there it was, as I said, just a little token gesture and announcement from our fine friends at FEMA. So let's go and hear some disturbing news that supplies are running low in some parts of the state. Now find ourselves at News Channel 5 out of Nashville with some breaking news, and this article come out only 12 minutes ago at time of recording. 191 closing delays. Davidson County's supplies run out quickly as winter storm relief draws large crowds in Nashville, and there is a video there of a truck dispersing supplies to residents, it looks like, as cold temperatures and power outages drag on. Hundreds lined Jefferson Street hoping for supplies. Churches and volunteers stepped in, but generators went fast. Posted 52 minutes ago by Aaron Cantel. Nashville, Tennessee, a sea of cars stretched up and down Jefferson Street and on towards Hadley Park on Tuesday as hundreds of drivers waited for free supplies, including generators, to help them get through the lingering impacts of the winter storm. The distribution at Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church was scheduled to begin at 2 p.m., but volunteers started early after large crowds arrived hours ahead of time. A semi-truck carrying first aid kits, extension cords, water diapers, generators, and more pulled up to the church, but generators were gone quickly. Yolanda Smith was among hundreds of people who lined icy streets and Jefferson Street, hoping to get their hands on much-needed supplies. While many were able to receive water, diapers, and other supplies, only a limited number of generators were available. With just a few dozen generators to distribute, they went quickly, leaving some people disappointed after waiting in line for hours. "I've been in line since 7 this morning," one person said. Senior Pastor Aaron Marble said many families are still struggling days after the storm, with some households without power since Sunday. Some people have been without power since Sunday, and so they're trying to keep warm and keep their houses warm, Marble said. Marble also said that the goal of the distribution went beyond supplies. It was also about showing support. There are a host of local churches that have come together to make sure people know that we're here and trying to do what we can to make a difference, he said. Smith said she had hoped to receive a generator for herself, but she said she was still grateful for what she was able to take home. I got waters, diapers for a baby and wipes, Smith said. It will help. Something is better than nothing. The supplies were provided through a partnership between the National Baptist Convention USA and World Vision. The American Red Cross reminds people that generators should always be used outdoors and never inside a home or garage. Officials also recommended installing a battery-operated carbon monoxide alarm. Organizers said everyone who received a generator was also given a carbon monoxide alarm. This story was reported by Aaron Cantrell, and he has been converted to this platform.
Whether you just got out of school.
Assistance of our AI editorial team. The news surrounded student, that's nothing to do with it. And I believe we've come to the end of that article. There we go. So let's go and hear what the National Guard are up to, because they, like the Baptist Church, are helping out with supplies and digging out. So here we are at WITN.com with a first alert. North Carolina National Guard sends more help following the winter storm. And there is a picture of, I guess, the National Guard helping in response to a semi that looks as though it's slid off of the road there. But let's go on. It was updated 49 minutes ago, so another recent article within the time of recording. Raleigh, NC. The North Carolina National Guard is sending help throughout the state in response to the winter storm that swept through North Carolina over the weekend. As of Tuesday, the National Guard says around 427 members have been activated and are using 162 vehicles to help out after the first storm of the winter in the state. Those include NCNG teams equipped with high mobility, multi-purpose wheel vehicles capable of traversing hazardous conditions to augment emergency responders. And there are also distribution teams to rapidly provide equipment and critical supplies to staging locations, ensuring a continuity of communications and a sustained response effort. Maintenance and recovery teams capable of assisting the Department of Transportation. The National Guard says response efforts have included helping stranded motorists, moving dialysis patients, assisting hospitals and shelters, and patrolling major roadways. The National Guard says it will continue working with North Carolina Emergency Management to monitor weather conditions and provide resources and support to the most impacted locations as more winter weather is possible this week. And that concludes that short but sweet article. But there you go, guys. We've got churches and the National Guard helping out with citizens and residents, either with, digging cars out of snow slides or giving out water and diapers to people in need. But as of yet, it doesn't seem as though the government is stepping up. And all our fine friends at FEMA have offered is a pamphlet of sorts to give you tips to survive winter storms. So our final article of the evening comes from abcnews.go.com. Winter storm updates. dozens dead across the United States in wake of a massive snowfall and deep freeze. Storm deaths were reported in the Northeast and the South and in the Plains. Emily Shapiro, David Brennan, and Bill Hutchinson are the collaborators on this article. More troops are deployed as a deadly ice storm slams the United States. Millions of Americans endured below freezing temperatures and power outages overnight after a massive winter storm dumped snow in the northeast and left ice across the south. A deadly winter storm that brought massive snowfall across the United States knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of people in the south and crippled travel in the northeast. Key headlines are at least 42 are dead, 46 child carbon monoxide exposure cases are reported at a Nashville hospital, which is a new one. Most flight cancellations in American Airlines history, and more than 500,000 customers still don't have power. Here is how it is developing as of January 27th at 4:16 p.m. At least 42 are dead across the United States, and the deaths have been attributed to the storm, according to the Associated Press. In Fannin County, Texas, north of Dallas, 3 brothers died. In Frisco, Texas, near Dallas, a 16-year-old girl died. In the Austin area, a victim was found dead in a parking lot of an abandoned gas station from apparent hypothermia. In Arkansas, a 17-year-old boy died after he was pulled by an ATV in the snow and struck a tree. So that was very similar to the poor girl in Dallas or in Texas. So this guy in Arkansas, similar tobogganing in a tragedy. In Lee County, Pennsylvania, 3 people died while removing snow. The county coroner said the victims ranged in age from 60 to 84. The coroner said, adding, "I remind the public to use caution when shovel snow, especially individuals with a history of heart disease or other medical concerns." 8 people died in New York City, and a retired police officer died on Long Island while shoveling snow. Another man was found dead with a shovel in his hand in Verona. In Massachusetts, a woman died after a snowplow backed into her in a parking lot, officials said. Deaths were also reported in Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kansas, Ohio, South Carolina, according to officials. Now this is the interesting part. 46 child carbon monoxide exposure cases reported at Nashville Hospital. And I guess this is a result of people using generators indoors. But in Nashville, Tennessee, the Monroe Correll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt has treated 46 children for carbon monoxide exposure since Sunday, and hospital officials said. The cases come as many families try to heat their homes during power outages caused by downed power lines and fallen trees. Carbon monoxide is an odorless gas, and carbon monoxide poisoning can be fatal. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include dizziness, headaches, nausea, and confusion. To avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, never lose generators or grills near open windows or vents, and make sure your battery-powered carbon monoxide detectors are working. It's been the most flight cancellations in American Airlines history. An American Airlines said this was the most disruptive storm in the airline's 100-year history. And American Airlines has cancelled more than 9,000 flights, as we have heard previously. American said 25% of its flights on Tuesday are cancelled across the US, and more than 2,000 are cancelled on Tuesday, with Dallas, Boston, and New York hit hardest. Over 11,000 flights were cancelled on Sunday. How many were marked? Was it not 2,000, or was there? Yeah, there you go. Look, I thought as much. So American Airlines, 9,000 flights were cancelled today. And 11,000 American Airlines flights were cancelled on Sunday. See what I was getting at there? There was a 9 and 11 and American Airlines referenced there. But still over 500,000 people are without power, with the worst outages in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And that is the last of that article. So it was a little bit repetitive, guys. Many of these are stories and articles, as we do tend to cover in not just this video, but in other videos that do seem to be reading from the same script in many cases. But this latest winter storm has left dozens dead, and with forewarning and forecast of yet another worse storm due to hit on the weekend, we can only imagine that death count might rise quite considerably this side of, or the other side of the weekend. So let's go and watch a few last videos, and I will meet you back in the virtual basement to wrap things up.
A private business jet crashed Sunday evening while attempting to take off from Bangor International Airport in Maine, killing 7 of the 8 people on board. The Bombardier Challenger 600 jet flipped over and caught fire amid a heavy winter storm that blanketed much of New England. Officials say one member of the crew survived with serious injuries. The airport, about 200 miles north of Boston, was immediately closed, and investigators from the FAA and NTSB are on site to examine the wreckage. Audio recordings captured moments after takeoff clearance, with a controller exclaiming, "Aircraft upside down. We have a passenger aircraft upside down," just 45 seconds after the jet attempted departure. First responders arrived within a minute. The Bangor crash comes amid a massive winter storm that disrupted air travel across the eastern United States. Thousands of flights were canceled or delayed over the weekend, and snow, sleet, and freezing rain left hundreds of thousands without power.
Hi, this is Joshua at the FAA Command Center. If you've ever flown in the winter, you may have noticed trucks spraying aircraft with steaming liquid before takeoff. That's called de-icing, and it's an important step to keep your flight safe. Ice, snow, or frost on an airplane can affect how air flows over the wings, reducing the lift that keeps the plane in the air. De-icing removes any buildup and ensures the plane can take off and fly normally. Here's how it works. De-icing crews use special equipment to spray a heated fluid onto the plane, melting any ice or snow. They may also apply an anti-icing fluid to prevent more ice from forming while the plane is waiting to depart. This process must be done carefully and within specific time limits. When de-icing is required, delays can happen. The process takes time. So when bad weather strikes, there may be many planes lined up waiting for the de-icing trucks. Airports work hard to make this process as efficient as possible by having dedicated de-icing pads available while departures are closely coordinated. Delays are inconvenient, but de-icing keeps flights safe. So next time you see a de-icing truck from your window seat, be assured that it's all about getting you to your destination safely, no matter how cold or snowy it gets.
Authorities say the investigation is ongoing, and the airport will remain closed at least until Wednesday. The NTSB and FAA are expected to release further details once investigators have fully assessed the scene.
We have crews on site that respond to weather storms, and we prepare for this on a regular basis. This is normal for us to deal with weather events, and we had crews on site to address the weather event that we had ongoing.
And they deemed it safe to take off?
The snow removal operations were in progress, and again, there were planes landing and departing at that around that time of the incident.
Does the fact that it was a private plane impact that at all? Like, would a commercial flight not have taken off last night?
There were commercial planes landing and departing around that time.
Was there a request to de-ice the plane at all?
There were de-icing operations occurring at that time, yes.
Where was the plane heading?
Details about the flight, I would want to hold off on the details on that flight until we have the opportunity to discuss with the NTSB.
Can you share any additional details about what happened? You know, how long was it?
Not at this time. All of the information about outline is the details that we can share at this time. Again, like I mentioned, we're awaiting members from the National Transportation Safety Board to arrive on scene so that we can have those conversations, and they will be taking on the investigation from here.
When do you expect that to happen?
The NTSB has notified us that they expect to have a team of investigators on site later this afternoon, early evening.
They said earlier today that it could be a day or two until people are on scene. Has that changed?
I'm not aware of what they have said or not. The communications that we've had, they indicate that their team is en route to the airport.
Could you give us the tail number on the plane?
I don't have that information here with me, but we could follow up with that.
And is the plane still on the runway?
So when incidents like this happen, the scene of the incident remains in place until the NTSB arrives and releases the scene.
And there are still some flights that are scheduled to take off or land according to the boards. Are those canceled for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, the airport remains closed. We are updating our NOTAMs, which will indicate that the airport will remain closed at least for another 24 hours.
Do we know what the scene looks like? Like, are a lot of crews still there? Like,
Our first responders obviously responded to the incident. They addressed the situation that is on the field, and at this time we are securing and monitoring the scene.
And did weather impact any operations at all last night, whether the cold or the snow?
Well, as you are all aware, there was a major storm that was making its way across the vicinity and across the country. So the weather was a factor in many operations, and I think that even before the accident, there were a significant amount of cancellations and delays already on the board.
What can you tell us about the flight? I know you can't tell us where it was going, but I mean, who owned the plane? It was a private jet. Can you tell us anything about that?
At this time, I don't have additional information to share with you. Again, I would wait for additional information once the NTSB gets here, and then we're able to provide additional information.
And
did any other flights land prior to the plane taking off? Like, did any commercial flights land here? Like
Yes.
Hours before?
Yes. Shortly before the aircraft incident, there were departures and arrivals.
So do you not know if there were no survivors, or are you just not ready to share that information?
We're not ready to share additional information.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Why exactly can't you share whether or not there were any survivors?
Right, because it's an ongoing investigation, and the NTSB is taking over from here. So,
does the airport typically operate under conditions like last night, where we have so much snow coming in?
the airport has a professional crew of snow removal operations that works at every event that we have to maintain safe operations around the clock.
And what conditions constitute closing the runway or closing the airport?
Yep. So there's different criteria that can be used to make that determination, and so it's in a case-by-case situation.
What is happening to the passengers who are stranded at this point? I know the airport typically closes after last departure.
I'm sorry, say that.
What happens to the passengers who are stranded and unable to fly out at this point?
Yep. Well, we're advising passengers that are scheduled or were scheduled to fly into or out of the airport is to contact the airline so that they can get additional information on their impacts to their travel arrangements.
I'm sorry, can you just talk at all about what the conditions were like at the time of the crash?
Yes, so I don't want to get too much into the details, but again, as you all might be aware, the snow storm started taking effect into the vicinity right around that time, so that's more or less what I would say. That's all the time that I have for questions. Thank you for your time, and we'll provide additional information shortly after, once the NTSB.
Our next story is about the United States. The country is in the midst of a severe winter storm right now. Temperatures have dropped sharply and large parts of the country are struggling to cope. People are without electricity, travel is being disrupted, and at least 30 people have lost their lives. But as the storm continues, President Trump is using this storm to mock climate change. He is asking, where is global warming now? Scientists say that this is misleading and that extreme cold does not cancel a warming planet. Our next report has more.
Cars lie buried nose deep in snow. Streets fade into white silence. Snow spins through the air like ash. This is the United States this week. A powerful winter storm has swept across the country, bringing snow, sleet, rain, and ice, all falling together. Temperatures have plunged well below freezing levels. More than 190 million people under extreme cold alerts.
It's fun to see this amount of snow. Like almost apocalyptic in a nice way.
Some regions are facing the coldest conditions in decades. Power lines are sagging under the weight of thick ice. Trees are snapping and crashing onto roads. Hundreds of thousands of houses are losing electricity. Entire neighborhoods are going dark. Emergency crews are responding as fast as they can, but frozen roads are slowing them down. In some areas, help is struggling to reach those who need it the most. Travel across the country is breaking down. Flights are being cancelled in waves. Major airports are paralyzed, with passengers waiting for hours.
We don't know if we're going to make it or not, so we've been here since Sunday about 7 p.m., so we'll find out if we make it today or not.
Even highways are becoming impassable. The storm is already turning deadly. At least 30 people have died so far. Some are dying from excessive exposure to the cold. Others are losing their lives in crashes on icy roads or due to other outdoor activities. Cities are opening emergency warming shelters. Officials are urging people to stay indoors. They are warning that the worst conditions are not over yet. Behind this storm is a surge of Arctic air. It is pushing far south of where it normally stays. That freezing air is colliding with warmer, moisture-rich air over the US. The result? Heavier snowfall, thicker ice, and longer-lasting cold. But while scientists explain the mechanics, President Donald Trump is using the storm to mock climate science.
Rarely seen anything like it before. Could the environmental insurrectionists please explain? Whatever happened to global warming?
It's a familiar move, confusing weather with climate, a cold snap with a long-term trend. And it's dangerously misleading. Scientists have said this repeatedly. Short bursts of cold do not erase decades of warming. In fact, experts say a warming planet can fuel stronger winter storms. Warmer air holds more moisture. When temperatures suddenly drop, that moisture falls as intense snow and ice. The irony? The Arctic itself is warming faster than anywhere else on Earth. That warming may be weakening the systems that normally trap cold air in the north. When those systems stretch or fail, freezing air spills south, and millions feel the impact at once. Right now, this is exactly what is unfolding in the US. The cold is still biting. Snow and ice are still falling. Across the country, communities are bracing, not just for the next 48 hours, but for a future where storms like this may become more frequent. Because ignoring the science won't stop the ice from falling. It just makes one less prepared when it does.
So there you have it, folks. Yet another installment of unwatchable content comes to a close. I hope those of you who have been watching along through the duration of this video have found it interesting, informative, and maybe had a little bit of fun and laughter in the chat as we have got through this evening's proceedings. Now we are in store for another bout of bad weather about to hit North America, and we are warning that temperatures are going to be as low as 40 degrees in the Florida Keys, which is, oh my goodness, that almost right, which is incredibly close to me. I'm continuing to rhyme unintentionally. That wasn't planned at all. That's why I'm sort of smirking at myself as I realized what I was doing. But when it is going to get down to close to freezing in the tropics, you've got to be a little bit concerned, especially me, as I did make a desperate attempt to flee bad weather and left Canada for the tropics in hopes that I wouldn't have to experience cold and frigid weather ever again, although I have become so acclimated to tropical climates in recent weeks when the temperature has on occasion dropped below 70 degrees locally. I have found myself being extremely cold and shivering, and even had to wear long pants and a hoodie to take my furry friends, my furry family out for their evening constitutional. But as always, folks, I do appreciate those of you who have watched and the handful of you guys that do continue to watch and tune in to this unwatchable content are the heartbeat that keeps the blood flowing in Shit Video Productions and ensures that I continue to dish out unwatchable videos. And if you wish to support me further and financially, you can always do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. The link will be in the description and hopefully will be posted in the live chat if you are watching in the live chat. But that is it, folks. All that is left for me to say in this video. Nobody watched except for you guys, and you guys rock, is be excellent to each other. May the force be with us all, and take care until next time. This is RD signing out for now, and let's hand it over to the dancing girl.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes!
Hey, Luke. May the force be with you.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.